One.
Two.
One, two, three,
Shakespeare.
Open. Ooh, we could have gotten it on the first one. Two. One, two, three, prologue. One.
Two.
One, two, three, Romeo and
greetings.
Juliet. Greetings, Romeo and Juliet.
1, 2, 3. Two households, both alike in dignity. Okay, so what was mine? You said prologue, I said?
You said...
Oh, no, the last one was Romeo and Juliet and greeting.
Greeting.
Yeah.
One.
Two.
One, two, three, good morrow. Ah! There we go.
Oh my God! We had a mind meld.
We had a mind meld.
We said the same word.
We said the mind meld.
That was risky, and we got there. That was cool.
Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Muprov Musings. This is episode 113, and the first episode of our classical improvisation series. I am sitting in the Bats Theater with Rebecca Stockley for the first interview of what will be a book about classical improvisation. Rebecca, nice to talk to you.
It's great to meet you. It's great to be having this conversation. And I just want to say, this is episode 113. 13 is my lucky number.
There we go.
This is a good sign to start with.
That is a good sign to start with. I was so excited to find out when Lisa put me in touch with you that I just want to start with, you were doing Shakespearean improv in 1989. That is like so much earlier than anyone else that I've talked to so far in the world of talking to people about Shakespearean improv. And I was wondering if you could tell specifically, before even the Shakespearean improv, the story of Bats starting to do narrative improv.
Oh, okay, great. So even before that, just so you know, I was playing theater sports. And as a person playing theater sports and a trained actor who had done Shakespeare, I liked challenging the opposing team to do a scene involving the classics, and then my team would do improvised Shakespeare. So I was doing short improvised Shakespeare scenes from starting in like 85.
Yeah.
So it's not that nobody was improvising Shakespeare. It's that, as far as I know, nobody was doing full-length improvised Shakespeare plays.
Yes.
To the best of my knowledge. But I was in Seattle, Washington, traveling to San Francisco, so I didn't know all the improv in the world. Through your research, I hope you'll learn more. And Bats, when we started, we played theater sports, and there were a lot of people here who had improv experience, people who were the founders of Bats Improv, who had done improv, and that the influence here in the Bay Area was a little bit more Viola Spolin, a little bit more about follow the follower and finding scenes together, the discovery of finding scenes together. And by bringing Keith Johnstone's format, which includes some really tactical narrative training, I feel like we created a community of people who were not only open to the idea. I know that people were doing longer stories, whether it was radio play or mysteries, people were doing longer stories. But the group of people who started with Bats, who sort of got together and brought their skills and talents and curiosities together, were really passionate about doing longer scenes. And some of the first work that we did with the longer stories was in 89. We started exploring longer stories. And part of the reason was just curiosity, like what if we went longer? And part of it was the theater that we were using, it was called the New Performance Gallery, I believe. I'll get the correct information to you before the book goes into publish. But they had a little venue upstairs that sat, if you brought the chairs in and risers and stuff, it sat about 70 people. So we thought that'd be a good place to experiment because there was less to risk there. The rent was way low. I think it was $50 or something like that, maybe 50 an hour, but it was really cheap. So we started exploring longer stories, and some of those stories were guided. Rafe Chase is one of the people at Bats who really has taken doing longer improv and made it into it's part of his life's work. And he experimented with doing stories that were sort of guided or narrated from the outside, where he'd fill in gaps. And there were a few people who would like do longer stuff. So because I was always passionate about Shakespeare, I love the plays, and improvising Shakespeare is really uplifting to me. The first one that I directed was Improvised Shakespeare, and we had, I think it was 5 people in the cast.
Do you know who they were?
I know that, what's her name now? A woman named Rebecca Weinberg, whose last name is different now. So I'll get you that as well. Because her married name, she's quite well known as an improviser. And Paul Killam and Barbara Scott, and I think Brian Lohmann and me, but I'm not positive about Brian, so I'll follow up with that.
We'll check.
So, but I think it could have been 4, it could have been 5. And we went to the audience, we got some suggestions, we used those as a title, and we improvised a play. And it was very much a comedy. It was 1 hour long. It was a lot of, we were double casting ourselves, so it was a lot of servants tricking masters. It was so a little bit more like a comedy of errors than Romeo and Juliet. and we just played. And I remember it feeling like, it just felt like a party to me, right? It just like free falling almost, because the ideas come so fast, and the exploration of the language is so elevating that, I feel like I'm carried along by the story when I improvise Shakespeare. I love doing it so much. It's uplifting. So that's the first time we did it. And I don't know what month it was, but I know it was 1989. And it was before November, because I know that because the earthquake in '89 damaged that theater, and we never did a show there again.
Oh my God.
So it took a long time for them to renovate it and rebuild it. We never went back there.
Well, I don't think that the month is going to matter in terms of the order of improvised Shakespeare.
Just in case.
I don't think it's going to come down to a hair like that. The earliest long-form narrative show that I'm aware of, besides Bats, I think is the Ken Adams improvised play, and 2 years after you guys.
Oh, no. There might be something in England.
So in England, the longest running improvised Shakespeare group that I've found is the School of Night, which is 2005.
Right.
And they're founded on the stage of the Globe Theater with Ken Campbell directing. Unbelievable.
I love it.
But the cool thing about it is it's all discovering. It's who discovers these things rather than inventing.
Yeah.
But I want to trace certain things back to you, if possible.
Great.
One of the things I'm very curious to trace back to you is exercises.
Yeah.
So you're directing improvised Shakespeare for what I think is probably the first time in the longer version of, like you're saying, of the play. Did you develop exercises for that? And how did you do that? What did you do?
The how is basically the needs of transporting modern minds and bodies into that era are language and movement. And the movement is, our movement is to some great extent determined by the clothing we wear. So if women are wearing corsets, they can't sit like this, right? They have to sit very upright. And if men are wearing doublets, they have to, so posture is different. Unless you're a servant or mechanical, and then you can, you're not as tightly bound. So there's some physical restriction. And then the big thing is the language. And for the modern English speaker, especially modern American English, contemporary American English speakers, a lot of people don't even understand, which just blows my mind. I started reading Shakespeare when I was, I don't know, young. I knew, we didn't have movies at home when I was a girl, but I started reading, I know that I read Winter's Tale when I was 12, so I probably was reading things before, that were more comic before that. But, so the language is sort of, you learn it by saying it and by hearing it, and it comes pretty easily to me, but there are a lot of people who it doesn't. So language drills, so that you're not saying thine when you mean thy, or you're not saying thine when you mean thou. And from my perspective, when I direct Shakespeare, I like people to use the language. And I was really, I did a lot of work on that. The other thing, the big thing was archetypal characters. There are certain character archetypes that you see in Shakespeare plays that we don't see in our modern theater as clearly. The things like the clowns and the master-servant relationship is really different today. So a lot of the work was about identifying the archetypal characters and giving everybody a chance to jump into them.
Which archetypal characters did you explore? Clowns, master-servant?
Queens. So the hierarchical court, learning a little bit about the hierarchy of the court, so that if a duke, can talk to a king, things like that. Big time it's master servant, and then it's that separation between court and the groundlings. The people that the mechanicals, like in Midsummer, the people who are the working class, basically, the poor. To some extent, or the craftsmen. So, and then, there's these two, early on as we started playing with the form, there are these two stereotypes of Shakespeare plays that come up all the time for the modern mind. One of them is young women being betrothed to some man they don't want to marry. And I had to make a rule that you could not start a Shakespeare play that way, because we'd be all warmed up, we'd be ready to go, the lights would come on, some girl would go out and sit down and complain to the woman who was combing her hair that she didn't want to marry some guy. And it's like, every play isn't about that. So that's one of the stereotypes that came up. We had to go sort of dust it away. We don't need this anymore. And then the other one is fairies. We don't need fairies in every show.
Yeah, once you bring in magic, it's
not that it's
show.
Bad and wrong. I love it. We've got magic or fairies or magical creatures in several of his plays, but we don't need it in every show. So it took a little while to figure out some of those modern stereotypes and how they would find their way into every show. And I think to some extent, partly it was because things have really shifted, but when we started doing this, women didn't know what part they could play besides a girl who's betrothed to somebody they don't want to marry and her nurse or mother. They didn't know what else there was. And the last Shakespeare play, improv Shakespeare play I did, Lisa directed, and we could all be anything. Yeah. And I like it that way. It's so liberating. It's like we don't have to be bound by the constraints of the gender that those who came before us were bound by, 300 years ago or whatever it was. So we don't need to be restricted in that way. So one of the exercises that I think I created, but I don't know, but I think I created it, is something you've probably done. It's where you get an object and a emotion, and you say, my anger is like a hammer, or whatever that is, and then you describe the hammer.
Brilliant, because that is an exercise that I use all the time. I teach, and I attribute it to Lisa, because that's the person who I got it from. So chaining it all,
I don't know that I did, but I think I did. And there's a version of that I'll share with you that my husband, Paul, sort of created. Yeah. One of the things that happens with the language is, the poetry, if you can get lost in it, is that things build. So one of the things that he, I think, came up with is the idea that you can compare something to something else on the same earthly plane. So thy love is like the flowers blooming in the field. And it's the same earthly plane. Nay, nay, it is greater still than that. Thy love, like the clouds, floats all around me, consuming me, and raining upon me at times and other times, brightening my day. Nay, nay, thy love is greater still than that. Thy love is like the heavens that open and bless me with God's love. So that you're taking the thing and you're like raising the value of it, or you can go lower. Thy love is like the mud upon the ground. Nay, thy love, like the roots growing beneath a grave, do crawl into the skin, breaking the corpse apart. Nay, thy love is deeper and darker still than that. Thy love, like a creature of the depths, climbs up and pulls us all gasping into its grip. So that you can raise or lower. And that 3 times thing is so magical. When you do it, you get this from the audience because it sounds like magic.
Yeah. What that strikes me instantly of is that a lot of sonnets are structured that way, where the third quatrain of a sonnet almost always goes heavenly and expands outwards and kind of...
Yeah.
So that would be a fun, if you're already doing the 3 things, if you were willing to add in the extra layer of the putting in the rhymes and stuff like that, you could do
easily
that exercise easily, where you're going to 3 different quatrains, each about a comparison on the next level of a plane.
One of the exercises I did early on was I would print out sonnets, because we didn't have phones that had all the sonnets on them. Just automatically. So I'd print out sonnets and bring them in and have people read them. And either, everybody has the same sonnet, you read them around in a circle, or you give 2 people the same sonnet and they read it back and forth, or one person practices on their own and reads the sonnet, just so we get iambic pentameter under our skin a little bit. And that recognition that every line doesn't need to rhyme, it can be every other line, but starting to put it into your mouth. And then because of that, I started writing a sonnet every day.
Wow.
So improvising sonnets is a great way to just start to move into mastery of the language.
Was the show that you were directing in 1989 in pentameter?
No, we did, we tried to do a little. But knowing that the people who are not, if things are too emotional, you don't have iambic pentameter. And if things are bass, you don't have iambic pentameter. So it's only when things are wonderful and positive or, royal that you have iambic pentameter. So recognizing that it's not always there.
Yeah.
We may have tried to, but I don't remember. It was a while ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago. Is this something you guys work on now? I know that one of the main questions I was having was the differences between the 1989 show and what is the show that Lisa just directed called? It's like Much Ado About Everything. Yeah. How has it evolved over the past?
Well, we don't worry about the iambic pentameter, and there are a few people who really think it gets in the way if you do. I think we organically speak in iams. It just happens, and that intentionally doing iambic pentameter isn't that hard. But you don't want a bunch of people on stage getting up in their heads counting iams. So letting it go is okay with me. But working on it as a skill that you can build, I think it's great. So I don't remember that we worried about it then, but we just don't now. We do a little bit of drill with it, but we don't worry about it now.
What other things, though, besides that have
that we
shifted?
did that we don't do? We don't really talk about the archetypal characters anymore, but part of the reason is because we've done this work for long enough, we don't need to, I think. We don't, we did what we do. Well, now we know from it wasn't just through improvising Shakespeare, but improvising a lot of different long form narrative shows. We've learned that you need to have a bigger world. And in that first one we did, I think we were pretty much in one household. We didn't really step outside of one household. And now we cast a larger net. So we have, we might have people in a household, but we have people wandering through the forest who may or may not ever get to that household. We have people on ships who are going someplace else. So eventually the world will come together in some way and make sense, but we don't start in one place and stay there. And we know that from lots of experience. You just you're stuck if you start at one place and just stay there. You need other things to impact the story. You need other characters, other people. We definitely are more likely to be multicast, to play a lot of different characters. We do more group scenes, but we had a very small cast, so we couldn't do that many, but we do way more group scenes. We do them intentionally, like asking a place where a group of people might be to open the show and starting in a marketplace or a pub or something like that. So a lot of what we do differently now isn't only because, it isn't only about the Shakespeare. It's about the things we learned when we started doing long-form improv. One of the things that came up, that I recall coming up a lot in the first few months that we were trying to do these long shows, is that there would be some event that we were working toward, like a marriage or something. Like it would be stated early on in the show that we had this thing that was coming. And then that thing that came would end up in some kind of big chaotic mess because so much emphasis would be put on this thing, and every character would come in and they'd have something they wanted out of this event that was coming up. And again and again, the shows would end with chaos, violence, shootout, sword fight. I mean, it was just chaos. And I think it's partly because, everybody wanted to make the thing important to their own character. So it was laced with all this importance. But it's one of the things that I learned from Keith Johnstone is you don't want to have an event and bridge to it. You want to just do the event. So if you start the show with a wedding, you have somewhere to go. But right? And you're going into the unknown rather than going toward a known and building a bridge toward a known. So knowing what your end is going to be doesn't help. But it took us a little while to figure that out. And it wasn't that we always made that mistake, but it would often come up.
Do pretty much all of the comedy shows that you do end in a wedding or not?
No. Okay. Often, but not always.
Often, but not always.
Yeah, they do an awful lot, don't they? But Shakespeare's comedies end in weddings.
Well, Shakespeare's comedy's almost. That's what I was asking.
Yeah.
I'm wondering. So, when you were first starting this out, did it work right away?
No.
No.
I mean, a lot of it was because we just managing something that was more than 7 minutes long. Things would sort of go out of control, and learning how to track ongoing events I think it's really good for our brains. Right? It's like this thing of being able to know, like you've been on stage, your character was named, something has happened, you've maybe stated what your character wants or needs or whatever, and then you're in the wings and you've got to keep listening to other people. You can't plan ahead. You have to keep listening to what other people are saying and doing so that you can see the whole story as it unfolds. You might do your first scene thinking, oh, I'm just a supporting character. You might become the hero. And you've got to be able to stay open, keep listening, and adapt. When we first started, we didn't know any of that, right? We'd go on stage and do something and go in the wings and go, oh my God, I can't believe I did that, and not hear the next thing that happened. And go to somebody and go, what did he just say? And they're like, I don't know. So it's like, it's a skill that we've built over years and years, and I love doing it. I love it. But it's a lot. There's so many moving parts. And keeping your what's going on in your working memory so that you can have the whole structure that's as it's been established active in your working memory as new information is fed in without making any assumptions about what your character is going to do or how it's going to go is huge. Active listening is absolutely imperative, and I think we all had to learn to do it where you're completely present and listening actively. It's not something I was that good at then, and now I'm really good at it.
This is maybe like a cheeky question, but were there specific things that you did to train your active listening? And if so, what?
Well, the doing of the shows was a big part of it. But the other part of that is I had a lot of opportunities in other places in my life. Well, like with teaching improv, for example, where I had to be present and pay attention to what's actually happening. I don't teach from a curriculum and always teach the same thing because I'm teaching the people in the room, not the curriculum, right? So being present and paying attention to what's actually going on is huge. And whether that's in an improv show, teaching an improv workshop, doing applied improvisation and teaching a group of people to communicate more effectively, no matter where I am and no matter what I'm doing, I'm able to stay present and attentive without getting tired. I notice a lot of people get exhausted by being present. Just by staying present and in the moment, it like makes them tired. So it's not that I did a lot of transcendental meditation or anything like that, but it really is using that skill and actively using that skill. Built the ability to do it.
Yeah. I don't even think it's that it's tiring. I think it's just that people are tired. And that the second you become present, you realize that you're tired, like that there's this underlying thing that a lot of times people hide or put aside by just keeping really, really busy.
Right.
And then once you slow down, but I think that like for people like monks or people who are or like yourself who are present for a large part of the day.
Yeah, I can be on my feet
not...
and present for 8 hours, where all these people who are 40 years younger than me being exhausted, going, I'm so tired. It's like, what the hell?
But I think that the reason that they're so tired is because if you're spending so much of your day not present and you're really on your phone, you're staying up late and you're not listening to the fact that your body's tired and you're not sleeping.
I want to say a big thing that's important for being able to be present is sleep, nutrition, and exercise.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're right. It's
and
like it's on your screen until 6 a.m. and you have to get up and go somewhere.
Yeah.
Sleep is really important. And it's better for your brain, as we know. So there's my lecture. In order to improvise long-form Shakespeare, you need to get some sleep.
Yeah, it's true.
See as many plays as you can, read them out loud. Read the actual plays out loud with friends. But the sonnets are fantastic. There's still some I haven't read out loud, and I've been trying to read, like work my way through them, but there's so many of them.
Yeah. What
a prolific person, or group of people, as some people say.
It's true. It's true. So is there any, I've talked to a lot of different people about how they structure their shows. Is there any fixed, reliable part of the improvised Shakespeare as you do it? Or any structural things that you're kind of counting on of like, I know at around this point in the show, like probably these things should start to be happening, or?
No, and part of the reason I think is because I directed the first show, and then there was a point where somebody else took over and directed the Shakespeares, and there was a point where somebody else took over and directed the Shakespeares, and then, so because of that, whatever was decided, this is what's gonna happen, that was left by the wayside. When I got to the point where I thought that long form works better if your first 3 scenes are meeting 3 different groups of people, and they have nothing to do with each other and they don't talk about each other. So that's a skill to build, because it's so tempting to refer to what came before. You were there listening, you heard it, but you don't want to refer to it, you don't want the scene to be about it. So trying to set up 3 disparate parts of the same world. 3 different groups of people. The next person who came in said, we're not going to do that. So we stopped doing it. It's still really useful skill for people to build because you have a bigger world to work from, but you don't have to do it. There was one person who directed a series of shows who wanted us to start with a prologue and end with an epilogue. And This is an improviser from Australia named Kate Herbert, who came up and directed a couple shows. And we opened with a prologue and we closed with an epilogue. And I did one run where I wanted to open with a prologue. And a lot of the histories open with a prologue about the historical events that happened hundreds of years ago in some cases. And so I tried to get people to do a prologue, listen to the prologue, but don't make the scenes about the people in the prologue or the events as though they just happened. And that was almost impossible for people to do. It was like somebody mentioned Henry who fell in the war. That'd be the first thing that somebody mentioned in the scene. It's like, oh! So that wasn't, it's like we couldn't do it. There's a point where, I mean, in a show I did recently, there was a point where it's like, we need a bigger world. And you had to, it's like, I think a couple of people went out and intentionally introduced characters who were in other places. Because we were sort of in this, you know, like in one village or something. It's like, we really need a bigger world. We need other influences. So, you know, it's like just knowing that helps, and saying it at some point could be helpful and do it from the wings, but it isn't like it's preordained. And by the end of the show, we want to have wrapped stories up, but we don't prescribe it. We don't, you know, like story A needs to be wrapped up first, and then story B. We don't name them A, B, and C. You know what we do here in terms of naming, right?
Well, no, yeah.
I think there's a list on the board.
Oh, you mean the story spine, or?
No.
No, okay. Oh, you just write down every character's name on the sideline. So yeah, that's brilliant. I love making mistakes, and I'm very much in that camp.
Yeah.
But there are some mistakes that I don't think.
They're not that additive.
Yeah, they're like once you see the third show or someone's name,
Marilyn, who is often called Maya and sometimes called Melissa because people misname. So we just write down the actor names and the character names.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's a great.
Sometimes relationships get in there. You know, if there's a lot of complicated familial relationships, we'll write those down.
And is that just whoever happens to be there, or is there a stage manager?
We write down the names. No, there's no stage manager. We write down the names before we start, and somebody who happens to be in the wings writes down the character name as they're named. And I've often, you know, and exited a scene on that side and gone, I don't know my character name, and gone around all the way around the stage to look at the list.
Yeah. That is really, really useful. I struggle a little bit with remembering names, and my strategy is just never to call anybody by their name, and never to. And I do a lot of duo Shakespeare improv.
Yeah.
You can always tell when I'm playing with my duo partner, because the characters don't get names until I play them, and then he names the
So
characters.
Try using their name 3 times within the first 2 sentences.
Sometimes I do that as well. Sometimes I will hammer it hard, and I will sometimes remember the names, but I definitely gravitate towards just a total mess of unnamed characters for.
Right.
I kind of do it in real life too, as well, where I'll just, if I can avoid. But that is a really useful. That is a really useful system, and maybe I should be incorporating that into my practice.
So I'll tell you something that I do with most of my beginning improviser students is I tell them that they have a magic power of being able to say, I remember you, I've forgotten your name. Can you remind me?
Oh, I do that a lot too, in show
That's
as
good.
well, where I'll...
In shows, in life, just give yourself permission to ask.
Yeah, that's the other good thing about the duo show is that you can always start a sentence and then like swap characters and have the person complete it. With that textural thing though, the texture of your show, was it a lot of improvised Shakespeare that I see is improvising kind of a parody of Shakespeare rather than improvising a Shakespeare play? Are you bringing in things from modern day into your shows, or doing wordplay that references that?
We have done. We've set them in modern times. We've done mashups, you know, like, I don't remember exactly. It seems likely that we've done a Western Shakespeare. But I remember a scene, this is back in Seattle, with Seattle Theater Sports. They asked the audience for a genre, and they got both Shakespeare and Western. And the first line of the scene was "Forsooth" and "Howdy," and the audience went mad. But we're not doing that. We really try to honor the work, and not to the extent that the women can't be in the show, right?
Yeah.
We're not honoring it to that extent, but we're not intentionally bringing in any modern elements or, yeah. Well, I feel like there's always more that we can learn about the elements of poetry, or right, or the nuance of hierarchical structure within the court. There's always more that we can learn about that, and there's all the really strange and wonderful and awful things about the Elizabethan era, and we can do what we can to know about it and bring it to the stage. Plagues and trebuchets and just experimenting with playing with the plays. Mostly we do comedies, but we don't always. We've tried to do some tragedies. I once directed an improvised tragedy and said, I'll give everybody a dollar, which was more useful then. I'll give everybody $1 if everybody's dead at the end of the show. And everybody was dead except one person who did the closing monologue. It was like, I gave them all $1. That was pretty amazing. But it was a little bit like the end of Hamlet, where just about everybody dies right there.
Was it
it was a tragedy.
A funny show?
No.
A funny tragedy? No. Sad tragedy.
Improvisation tends to have humor in it simply because the audience is watching you invent it in the moment. And it has those moments that are wonderful and strange and where they see you inventing and revealing some truths, and they love it and they laugh. We laugh. We laugh when people are truthful and alive. It's so powerful. But so the intention was for it to be a horror. I mean, a tragedy, not horror. A tragedy. It wasn't Macbeth. The intent was for it to be a tragedy, knowing that there will be light moments. But there are light moments in all of the tragedies as well.
Certainly. What year was that, though?
Oh, God.
Ballpark.
We were here, so it was less than 35 years, less than 25 years ago. Oh no, I don't recall.
No worries. No.
Yeah, but it was after Bats moved into this theater.
I asked you when you were starting out if it worked right away, and you said no.
No.
Did you know right away that it was going to work?
No, but we knew it was worth trying. And that's where, I'm not alone in this. I mean, I wasn't the only one. It's a community of people who were very curious about longer stories, about creating longer stories together, and doing different genres, different styles, and every style we did, we learned from it. Like we did one that was like a takeoff on a old-timey beach movie. It might even have been an Elvis movie. I don't remember exactly. But those late 50s, early 60s teenager beach movies. We did one of those, and we learned from that one. We learned that that sometimes you need to play more than one character. We learned that if people stay close to each other as a group, they look like they're part of a team or a tribe, and a group of 3 people can look like a whole gang. So, and that works really well in Shakespeare, right? A group of 3 people can look like warriors.
Yeah.
We did one show where part of the rehearsal process, I directed this show, part of the rehearsal process was I brought in a stage combat guy who brought in those big wooden swords, practice swords, and taught us a series of moves so that we could do improvised broadsword, and we had the patterns. And then one of the shows was almost all women. and we had a war scene, so everybody was attacking, and you knew if you did this move first, you were the attacker, and you knew the parry, so that we did this same battle, like these same moves, again and again and again. So we do it and then die, and then come back to life in the other role and do it until you die. And it was all women. I think it was all women on the stage, all killing each other and getting back up and killing each other again. It was fun.
That's awesome.
It was awesome. It was awesome. It's funny how, I think one of the things that's wonderful is that in Shakespeare, the real trials and tribulations of human beings, were there, and they're still here. So you can bring in things that people are concerned about today, like having a corrupt leader was a big issue, has been a big issue for all of human history. So doing it today, it's like it's true to Shakespeare, and it's true today. And so being able to explore the stuff that feels, like it's authentic and of concern to people today, and it feeling still true to a possible Shakespeare play. I love that. I love that we can do that. We can go deep. We can reveal. We can be truthful. We can be sad and wonderful and all that stuff. What else?
Okay, there's a couple different routes I can take this. Well, actually, I have some practical questions to get out of the way now, and then we can go back into the more interesting stuff.
Okay.
Research-wise, is there any sort of BATS archive? Did you keep any journals while you were directing? Are there photographs of the show, or
We probably have photos from shows, but the main thing I have is the notes that I would take, both for the handouts for the cast, and I've got a file of Shakespeare stuff, but I haven't looked at it in years, so I don't know if any of it says something like, this is going to be a run of tragedies, or this one is going to be a run of histories. I don't know. We're going to try to do a problem play. I haven't looked at it in years, but I have that kind of material. Some of it's still on my computer, but I can't access it because the app doesn't work. The app doesn't exist anymore that it was written in. So there's some problems there. So there's that. There is a book by. So this has nothing to do with our historical records, but there's a book by somebody named John Barton. I think it's John. That's another thing I can look up and share with you. That is so detailed and informative about the structure of the language, that it just illuminates beautifully. And there are things that you can learn as an improviser to do that exist in the play that unless we had gone to that source, we wouldn't be doing. So it's I learned about this book from Brian Lohmann, and it has things like the action in the dialogue. So someone is on stage writing a letter, or they're just writing, and from in the wings, someone's watching them, right? They've hidden themselves, and they're saying, she sighs, she looks, she sees me not. She sighs again and places her pen upon the page and writes, so that the action is in the dialogue. And you see this scene where someone's writing something and someone else is spying on them and writing it. There are other scenes where people spy on people to trick them. And the action is not in the dialogue, but these people do something, and then they, do something and then don't talk for a moment, and then the people watching say what they see. Right? So that it's like the action, like on the sidelines. There's monologues and all kinds of soliloquies. Do you know what an apostrophe is?
Oh, I've heard it, but I've now forgotten.
An apostrophe is there's an object, and the monologue is to the object. And Shakespeare's plays are full of them. There are several plays where the king's crown, it's the prince, and he thinks his father's dead, and he takes the crown, and he gives a soliloquy to the crown. about how heavy you rest upon my head and stuff like that. And it's just transporting. And it oddly enough, it feels easy to me to do that. Like sometimes talking about a character's feelings about something just feels like inventing, but talking to the object as a symbol of whatever it is that this character is going through it's easy. The language just flows freely. So that's a source for some of the work that we've done. But it's weird how by seeing it, even if you see it in a show you're in, you can use it. So it's like we all get better by seeing each other and playing together. But resources, I don't even remember if we have photos. We're doing a cave match coming up in August, and I'm on a team of people, and we're doing we're doing improvised Shakespeare, and it's William Hall, Will Gutzman, and Zoe Galvez and I. So just the four of us doing. Whatever it is, 40-some minute improvised Shakespeare. And that's the next time it's scheduled, and the only time it's scheduled this year, as far as I know.
Brilliant.
For the rest of the year. Yeah.
That's going to be fantastic. I'm curious about who comes next. A lot of how I'm going to need to find a lot of different people in a lot of different places who are doing this. And I'm wondering, do you remember, when was the first time that you remember hearing about, other people are also doing improvised Shakespeare? And
well,
who were those people?
Have you talked to Dan O'Connor?
No. Well, actually, wait. Who?
LA? Improv Theater?
Improv Theater. No, I have not talked to Dan O'Connor yet.
So you could talk to Brian Lohmann, because he started here, but he went there. I mean, so he had some of the workings of long form, the beginning of that work here, and then he went there and was part of their journey. And what they've done is it's similar but different. So I can get you in touch with both of those guys.
I would love to. Okay, this is exactly what I was hoping was happening. I was like, okay, if I go back to the start, then I'm going to be on a chain.
So Brian Lohmann and Dan O'Connor, both Improv Theater, and well, Brian's here now. But I want to say yes, talk to those guys.
And do you know when-ish they were starting to play?
Nope.
No? Okay, well, they'll know.
They will. Because they, like Bats, were doing theater sports and continued to play theater sports for a while before they started really playing with long form.
Wonderful. Was there any time where you ran into people who were doing it who were not from your lineage, who you started just in the wild bumping into?
There must have been, but I can't think of anybody right now.
Okay.
There's, Rebecca Northan, improviser who started in Calgary at the Loose Moose with Keith Johnstone and is now, I believe, in Toronto. She does some work, and it's not at all of the same lineage. So it's Northan, Northan, and I can get you in touch with her.
I would love, thank you so much.
She's her work would be very different than West Coast United States, because our influences have all been quite similar and a lot of cross-pollination. So I think the way Improv Theater has done improvised Shakespeare and the way we do it are probably quite similar, or have a lot of similarities, but hers would be really different than that.
Yeah, is she with Rapid Fire?
No.
Because that's one of the
No. Rapid Fire is Edmonton.
Edmonton, yeah.
Are they doing it?
No, it just when I was trying to track the origins of narrative improv, I was finding, maybe it wasn't Rapid Fire, maybe it was another.
Rapid Fire did.
Who's the one who does the improvathons, the 50-hour ones in Canada, that started the ones in London?
I don't know.
Okay, I forget.
It could be Rapid Fire.
But there are 4 theaters so far that I found that I feel like are independently doing narrative improv, which is Bats, and then Ken Adams, I think, was doing it in New York without
and brought it here.
Hadn't communicated it. And then I found some documentation that, like, in Chicago, I don't think it's from the same lineage. There was a Tennessee Williams show, like, also right around 90, like 91, 90 kind of, and then early 90s. In Canada, someone, I should have it down, it was in one of the past interviews that someone did a 50-hour improvathon.
So we did 2 improvathons in Seattle Theater Sports when I was still there. So this is before '89. We did a 24-hour and then we did a 48-hour.
But was it telling one continuous story for the whole?
No,
that's what I'm saying. Is
it
it
was
one
short
continuous
form.
narrative story for like 50 hours?
Nobody's going to sleep. How do they? Oh
They
my
do it
God.
in London every year.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a crazy.
Wow. No, we didn't do that. We didn't do that. Okay, so that could be rapid fire. I don't know.
No, it's not rapid fire.
It could be. Was it Vancouver? Was it the Improv Center?
No,
or
it's
the
not.
Improv Center?
I'll get it after, and I'll put it in the notes.
There's an awful lot of improv.
There is an awful lot of
Canada, it's
improv.
very
But that
big.
was when I was tracing the lineage of the Shakespeare that comes in the UK. It traces back to Canada, and it traces
Right.
back to this. The
it.
Shakespeare doesn't trace back there, but the improvisers and the lineage of
Yeah.
narrative improv is coming out of there, which was interesting.
Yeah.
But okay, and I want to zoom in again. How long do you think there was between when you started working on longer stories and when you started working on Shakespeare?
It all happened at the same time.
It all happened at the same time?
Yeah, it all happened at the same time because, we're doing a lot of playwrights. We were doing playwrights, film styles, general sort of film noir, Western, sci-fi, and we were doing that. And Shakespeare was right in the mix. We did improvised Tennessee Williams and a lot of different. A lot of different stuff. But I don't think there was a gap. Now we do improvised Shakespeare. Now we work on long form, and now we do it again.
Yeah.
I think we were it was concurrent. Like there was I taught a month-long improvising Shakespeare workshop that ended up in a showcase. And a lot of the people in that were, performers. So that showcase had audience. So it was like it was all happening together.
It said on your website that you also had designed a curriculum for the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. Was that Shakespearean improv or normal improv?
It was Shakespeare.
Shakespeare improv. Oh, that is the coolest job ever. When was that? And
Okay, I did that with Brian Lohmann together, and that was, oh my gosh, it was more than 26 years ago. I don't know how much more than 26 years ago.
And so was there a
before
group
the year 2000.
at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival that was performing an improvised Shakespeare show?
Sorta. So it was a group. So when Brian and I went the first time, we just got people from the Shakespeare Festival who didn't have rehearsals that day. They could come and take our workshop, and it was it was like open enrollment. So it was teaching how to improvise Shakespeare to actors. No one's more afraid of improvising Shakespeare than a Shakespearean actor. No one has more loyalty to the language than a Shakespearean actor. Things have probably shifted, but that's the way it was then. So we did, I think it was just a week of work with them, and they paid us and they put us up in their housing, and it was really fun. And then we went back a year later, and the second time, we did a show with the people who had been in the workshop with us.
Oh, so fun.
It was so fun.
That's unbelievable. Like just hard to fathom.
So and we went into the costume shop. We got rehearsal skirts and a couple of props that we thought might come in handy, like crowns and things. And then we went on stage and made up a play. And people paid, like they bought a ticket at the box office to see us perform improvised Shakespeare.
Do you think that classical improvisation should be a facet of classical acting training? Like, do you think it helps you as a Shakespearean actor to Shakespearean improvise?
I really think that it would. I think it would be really good for actors to get that training. A year or two ago, Brian and I were in the same show, and I don't remember what the show was. It was something where we did a bunch of scenes, and I said the next thing we're going to do is a playwright scene. Who's a playwright? And somebody said Harold Pinter. So Brian and I did an improvised Pinter scene. Somebody else was in it too. Karen Brailsford was in it as well. It was insane and so Pinter. It was just awesome. So after the show, Brian and I had this moment of, oh my God, that was amazing. And we taught an improvising Pinter intensive to a group of students and performers. And they had a showcase. And improvising Pinter is amazing because what is Pinter known for? Okay.
Actually, I haven't seen a Pinter play. The only thing I've seen is I've seen an improvised Shakespeare group get a suggestion of Pinter and then incorporate it.
Oh, okay. Incorporate it. Wow. Okay. So Pinter is known for pauses. So quiet in improv is really good training, but you learn as an improviser to fill that quiet and not just sit there. And people acting Pinter can just sit there, and you want life. So it teaches you the life. Not long after that, or maybe it was another whole year later, we asked for a playwright. Brian, in what is it? Super Scene asked the audience for a playwright at the very beginning, and then directed, who wrote the novel where a guy turns into a cockroach? Kafka. He directed us in a Kafka play. In fact, Will Gutzman was in that as well. So we did improvised Kafka. And the audience went mad, and it won the Super Scene.
Brilliant.
So afterward, Brian and I had this, should we teach that intensive? But if I had played with Theater of the Absurd, or improvised Eugene O'Neill, or improvised Chekhov, if I'd played with that before I did those plays, I think I would have had a much deeper understanding, because what it takes to invent it yourself is like it's a well of knowledge of where who the character is and where they're coming from. I think that's part of it, and a well of knowledge about how this particular playwright gives voice, or like the world they're in and what they're saying. So I think it'd be great training.
Yeah.
Is that what you're going to do when you grow up?
Well, no, I don't know. It's the other direction. Well, the other direction is, I'm curious about how in the other way, how bringing the Shakespeare improv into Bats affected the beginning of narrative improv. Like, do you feel like it changed the way that people play?
I don't know. I don't know. I think that Shakespeare's best when there's physicality. It's best when there's differences in social ranks. So you've got status involved, and that could be true for a lot of styles. But yeah, I don't know. It's not. I don't recall saying, well, we learned in the Shakespeare we need to, so we need to blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I don't know that we've learned in that transparent of a way.
But it's just fascinating to me that they're evolving concurrently, and like it seems like there are certain skills that you use in the improvised Shakespeare that I think are applicable everywhere else, but that aren't necessarily intuitive, that you would just right away start adding, like, big emotional monologues into all of your other shows, or the precision of language into every other. And also the way in which the Shakespearean storytelling happens is a very specific kind of thing. And it's just interesting that you were doing that at the same time as you were like figuring out like the very basics of how to tell
Yeah, we were just figuring it all out and trying different genres with it. We did mysteries and family dynamics, and just every kind of story you can think of. Twilight Zone. Twilight
Zone. That was actually the first Bat show I saw. It was so long ago that I don't remember anything about it, but it was, I've only actually seen a couple Bat shows, weirdly. I didn't come over enough from campus, but the first one I saw was an improvised Twilight Zone, and I was like, whoa, this is... and it was because Simps was doing improvised Twilight Zone on campus, like, I think just copying Bats, or like they had just done it, and then we went over to see the Bats version of it.
Oh, I love it.
So,
in a world.
Yeah.
So are you still at Stanford?
No, I graduated in 2023. I was 2 years below Will. So I overlapped with Will for 4 years in the group.
Oh, wow, okay. Right, my niece is there now.
But is she improvising? No.
She's a concert pianist.
Yeah. Well, she could be a musical improviser.
Yeah, she's so busy practicing.
Yeah.
We'll see.
It's so hard.
She also plays jazz sax. So.
Jazz sax. That's improv.
I know. Yeah, but improvising here and improvising here, for her, it's a different muscle. Anyway, enough about that.
But
so it's interesting because it's like how we learn and what we're learning, we're not really sure about it. What we do know is when something is given voice. And I remember when I gave voice to, let's start with 3 different worlds. Let's meet people in 3 different places. I remember giving voice to that. And I remember Brian introducing Barton's work and giving voice to that, sort of learning some of those skills and working those skills. But we learn, we don't even know we're learning when we learn. So being able to learn and say what you learned and turn it into an exercise that somebody else can practice, those are big steps.
I got two more questions. There's an exercise that I got from Lisa that I use a lot, which is throwing the O of different emotions, and then throwing the O and catching that going into a line, and just starting your line with an O and figuring out where.
She might have invented that.
She might have invented.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not coming from you.
No. I love that.
Some Stanford improvisers or graduated Stanford improvisers started doing Shakespearean improv in the late 90s. And I was asking them about it, because that's also some of the earlier people I've talked to, and they did not know whether they had learned it from you or whether they had invented it. They were like,
yeah, I was there a few times, and I remember teaching an improvised Shakespeare
so that's what
there.
That's what it came from. They were like, we have no idea how we started it. It might have been Rebecca, because they said they remembered you coming over to teach workshops, and they weren't sure whether it was Shakespeare.
I taught some Shakespeare.
Okay, so that is a continuous lineage.
So that was all before Dan Klein was hired. Patricia was still there, and it was before Dan had a role there.
Oh, you were teaching Taps 103?
I did sometimes, yeah.
Amazing. That's so fun. Okay, so and I would have figured that out anyway, I think, because what I was going to do is just start asking them questions about what exercises they did.
Yeah,
and then
right.
You'll
feel it, yeah.
Okay, so I'm very excited. I'm hoping to get to interview them at some point as well.
I remember working with some people at Stanford and introducing the metaphor drill, and them going, "Oh, we haven't worked on the language before." And it's like, you've got to. You've got to. It is the right. It's like
they were doing improvised Shakespeare without the language.
I don't know what.
Very fun.
Maybe it was working on the language in this way, but it was like.
Well, I kind of feel like there are 3 different things that are going on in improvised Shakespeare at once, which is like the language, the genre of just being like, we're in old times and these things, and then at least for me, is the narrative structure of the comedy of there's scheming and plots and circular, like lovers falling in and out of love and getting married.
Mistaken identity.
And I kind of feel like you could do the show, like I've seen all 3 be isolated. I've seen a show that's in Shakespearean language, but like a totally different genre and different, and I've seen shows that, like what you were saying, were done by people who are like, okay, we're doing the genre, but not paying attention to the language at all. And I've seen, especially, part of why I'm calling this classical improv instead of just Shakespeare is because a lot of the global improv scene, I think, does not gravitate towards Shakespearean improv if it's not their first language. But like, I've seen amazing improvised Moliere, and it's like, oh, okay, you're doing meter and you're doing comedy plots.
And Moliere inspired Shakespeare. I mean, he didn't invent those stories. Not all of them. I mean, some of them came from English history, but a lot of the stories were stories that were told by Moliere, by Commedia dell'arte, by the Greeks or Romans. The twin monechmy is what do you call it? Comedy of Errors. So, it's like the classics, classical improv, the classics are part of what he does. Mistaken identity was part of storytelling long before Shakespeare was writing. So I mean, you could do, oh my God, I wonder if anybody's doing improvised Lorca. We tried to improvise Jacobean tragedy once.
How was it?
Bloody and gory and sexy, and kind of intense and scary, and we never did it again. It's like, it was when we were first doing,
Yeah.
So this is one rule that we have at
Yeah.
Bats, and you guys probably do it too, because you asked if there are any things that you always do.
Yeah.
So, and this is something we learned when we did the improvised Jacobean tragedy, because that was really early on in our development of long form. At intermission, we said who we were and what we wanted, and we talked about what could happen. We do not do that
now.
ever anymore.
Yeah.
Now it's, what is my name and what have I said I want, or what do we know about me? We think I'm related to him. You know, it's like, what do we know? What do we think? It's like what has been spoken, not what might happen. We never do any of that. We never invent, and we never come up with anything. We never agree upon anything. We don't even share an idea if we have an idea of where it's going. The closest thing it might come to sharing is somebody in the wings going, I've got something. And they walk out on stage first for the second half. One of the things we got, I think, from Improv Theater in LA is you come out for the second half. Somebody comes out before the cast comes out for the second half and asks the audience, which two characters do you want to start the second half? And I think we got that from them. And we do that sometimes because that's a way to say, we really are still improvising. We didn't come up with anything.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Did the original show have an intermission? Was it?
No.
So the original show is 60 minutes. Now it's 90 minutes?
Now it's about 90 minutes with an intermission, yeah.
Okay. Brilliant. We may be running out. People are starting to arrive.
Oh, we got to write this stuff. We got to wrap this up.
Okay.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the Shakespeare show. Do you think that's the sound of somebody arriving? Could be.
There's
a human.
a human.
It's Brian Lohmann that I keep telling you about.
Oh, you're Brian Lohmann? Ah, there we go. Amazing. Wow. Can I?
Brian, Hal, Brian.
I'm having too much fun. I'm going to just.
He
Wait.
heard that we did our first improvised Shakespeare in '89. Flipped
you just
out.
hold this so that I can.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so you're walking into an interview about improvised Shakespeare, and I'm trying to write a
He
book
said,
about
"Who
the
should I talk to
history
next?"
of
And I said,
classical
"Brian Lohmann."
improvisation.
Oh,
So who should I talk to
fantastic.
next? Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
In your recollection of, what do you remember from figuring out that early days of how to do improvised Shakespeare?
Well, that there was lots of wordplay and puns that were fun because Shakespeare's just a master of using language, but also creating romantic stories where there's mistaken identities and also, well, flirting with tragedy some. We did some improvised Shakespearean tragedies in LA with Improv Theater that got pretty dark.
Yeah.
And people kind of were surprised that was the improv show that they had come to. Rebecca, do you remember doing tragedy here?
We did a few. I think you were in LA then.
Yeah. Did you have a run of tragedy?
Yeah, we did a couple of runs of tragedy.
Yeah.
And one history.
Yes.
4 weeks of history.
History one. Rebecca and I got to do improvised
I told
Shakespeare
her
in
about it.
Ashland.
I
You did?
told her
In
Yeah.
Iceland?
In
Ashland.
Oh,
Ashland.
in Ashland. Yeah, that's what I heard. I heard
The
about
Icelandic
that.
people improvising happens very fun. Okay, so I told him he needs to interview you next.
Okay.
And that you would not only, you were here when we started playing with longer stories,
Yeah.
but you were paramount. I mean, you were a big part of building them in Improv. Yeah.
Yeah.
Improv LA.
Yeah,
or
and we were
whatever it's
doing
called.
improvised
Improv
Shakespeare
Theater.
at Fault Line in 85 and 86.
See?
Wait. Whoa. Wait, what's improvised? What's Fault Line?
So Fault Line was a sketch and improv show that ran for 2 years at Lips Bar and Grill, south of Market, 9th and Howard. That was a cast of Mike McShane from Whose Line, Greg Proops from Whose Line, Reed Kirk-Rallman, who's a founding Bats player, Sandy Althouse, who you hear on KQED as an announcer, and Kathy Arcolio. And that was our amazing cast. And we would do an improvised Shakespeare that was about 15 to 20 minutes long every show, and we would do an improvised musical that was about 15 to 20 minutes long.
So it was one continuous story for 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, it keeps on going back. Okay, it's going to go backwards too. But Bats is the first time that you've ever heard of someone doing it for like an hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So were you in the one? I couldn't remember if you were in the one with Rebecca Weinberg, Paul, Barbara Scott, and me. upstairs in that little loft space.
Yes, I was.
You were in that?
Yeah.
Okay.
The first time.
The first time.
Yeah.
The first one.
Yeah.
So it was just the 5 of us, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
Unless Tim was in it or...
No.
Okay.
So I feel like at some point someone told me that the first time that Bats was experimenting with long stuff, it was just a normal show that just started a scene and it just kept going for the entire Bat show. Is that true, or is that a...
I don't recall that.
I don't recall that.
I don't recall it either.
Okay, so it was more of like you were talking about it and you experimented and practiced and then...
Yeah, we'd explore the genre and then try to apply whatever the rules of that genre were to our improvising so that it would feel authentic. The idea was to improvise
I'm so glad you walked in.
a play
So awesome.
that could hold its own.
So is the Barton book, is it John Barton?
Yes.
What's the title?
Playing Shakespeare.
Playing Shakespeare. Okay, that'll be my next.
It has been enormously additive to the work that, to improvising Shakespeare for us, to how we do it.
Passion and coolness is one of the chapters. So when does the verse get heated? How do you lean into that? How do you use coolness so that it doesn't all seem like, what's it, sound and fury signifying nothing?
Yeah.
Yeah, so how do you find balance? How do you deal with the verse? There's lots of great stuff. And there are, it was a TV show as well, so there are episodes online that you might be able to find through the library.
Playing
Shakespeare with Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart and Judi Dench. But it's just like they're in a class and they're having a conversation. He says, get up and try it. It's really charming and makes it feel like, yeah, anybody could do this. If you had a good teacher, you could do it. Oh. And now Patrick Stewart's improvising Shakespeare with the Improvised Shakespeare Company.
Yeah, I saw that
in LA.
news.
So it's taken some interesting routes.
Oh,
I'm so glad you walked in when you did. It's so funny.
Yeah, do you know, for the
I
Improv
see.
Shakespeare Company, are they in the lineage of Bats somehow? Or did they
No.
were developing it on their own?
They just went to it on their own.
Okay.
I think the idea of doing Shakespeare as a genre goes way back to Second City and genre roller coaster stuff or Styles Freeze is what it was called when I was taught it. And the audience would call out different styles and they'd try to trip you up because Shakespeare's hard.
Mm-hmm. But we mastered it.
But we rose
I remember
to the
one
challenge.
show we did like a corporate gig, and you named me Thesaurus because I have talked so much. But it was short form. So I can give you contact info for the people I've mentioned. There's one more person you should talk to about just the development of long form at Bats, and that's Rafe Chase.
Yes, I've been told he also kind of archives things in a way. Like
He does better than I do.
And I have some stuff on Vimeo that are full-length improvised Shakespeare plays that you can look at.
Oh,
some
wow.
are within. I think it's mostly with Improv Theater. I don't know
Yeah.
if I have any.
Oh, I would
that
love
stuff.
that.
Yeah, so stuff we did at the Broad Stage in Santa Monica. So.
Who, if he talks to Dan, who else should he talk to? You and Dan?
Me and Dan, we were the co-directors down there of it. So I think that would be a good way to go. Maybe Paul Rogan, because he could give you the British version of when he was doing theater sports in London, what were the improvisers who were interested in doing that? And he'll have some stories about improbable people, Phelim and Lee, doing full-length improvised Shakespeare plays at the Globe.
At what year?
10, 15 years ago, maybe?
10, 15 years ago, okay.
Yeah.
And is that related to the School of Night or different? That's Improbable is also, because I've seen ads for Improbable before. They're casting right now, but I don't know anything about their history.
They've done a lot of different kinds of shows, but I think they worked with the educational department at the Globe and got in to do some improvised Shakespeare as a way to play with people who want to be Shakespearean actors, and I think it gets taught at different places. Maybe Stratford, maybe RADA. There are places like that. Who else would be good? Maybe the
Rebecca Northan. She's doing work up in what's the
Edmonton? Is she in Edmonton?
No, she's in Toronto, but
Okay.
there's their Shakespeare company. There's a theater.
Oh, Stratford. Yeah, she'd be good to talk
She
to
works
about
with them,
Stratford.
so she's a good person.
For sure.
Okay. Wow. Okay, that's amazing. So
You have a lot to do.
we should finish, but for you interviewing, is there any time or way to contact you so that if you're the next person?
Yeah. Rebecca can get my contact info what's your horizon? I'm kind of tied up for the next.
So
are you
I'm
here
here
now?
right now just for like a tiny bit of time. I leave on Sunday, but I can do Zoom literally any time, no deadline or urgency
Where are you
whatsoever.
living now?
I live in London. So
Oh, that's easy.
yeah.
That's an easy Zoom.
I can't wait to hear what they
8
say
p.m.
about.
on his-
Oh, the Americans are improvising Shakespeare. Are they now?
Well, the Americans, it sounds like
precocious.
we're improvising like long form Shakespeare before the Brits were.
We were to in a way. There was also though talk to Lee Simpson at Improbable about that Hamlet improvised at the Edinburgh Festival in 1987. Which
Oh, you might be beat. Because I've seen Lee Simpson play. He's brilliant.
yeah, Lee's one of my favorite
Wait,
improvisers.
Hamlet improvised 1987?
They would do the play basically, but they would get suggestions to fit things in. So how does Polonius die? The night I saw it, he died from electrocution from roller skates.
Okay, I think
So-
I think that still holds the crowd.
Because they did Hamlet. They didn't make up a new
They put
story in the
improv into
style
it.
of
But
Shakespeare.
I still would, that's awesome, and I don't want to keep
Yeah.
that. I would just love to talk
Yeah.
to him.
When
if
we
he was
started
willing
doing
to.
long form, Paul and I went down to New Zealand, and they said, "Oh yeah, we're doing long form," and they were doing plays that existed and putting things into it like that.
Yeah.
The play of Dracula
Mad
with
Libs.
improv, Mad Libs.
Yeah,
There you
it's
go.
like Mad Libs, which is very entertaining, and it was a very entertaining show. So I don't disparage it. Part of what was entertaining was seeing the cast draw what part they were playing out of the hat, and everybody waiting to see who was going to be Hamlet.
Come on!
It's like, oh, good luck to you. 'Cause- So they had to learn, and it's the Edinburgh Fringe, so it's 50 minutes. You don't.
So
have to-
they cut the play and
They
then
cut
learn
it
the
way
whole
down.
thing.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
It's like,
I love that.
yeah, what is
That
the?
is
Isn't this amazing that he came in?
Yeah, this is. I mean, part of why I'm doing this is just I'm like fascinated by it, and I was like, it's gonna start. I have a feeling I'm gonna uncover a lot more than what I think.
Yeah.
I know about now. Like you told me 4 or 5 people. If each of those people tells me 4 or 5 people, like this could become a much bigger project than.
And I think people love it, and I'm so grateful to you for taking the time and having the interest in it, because I think it's important. When I taught at ACT, part of what I was able to do with my students, who were the MFA students, was you're doing your Shakespeare projects now. We're going to improvise Shakespeare in this class as a way to make it feel like it's natural to you. Because the whole goal was, how can I make it seem like these characters are just coming up with these words off the top of their head rather than reciting stuff? So discovery versus recitation, and that Shakespeare's characters don't know what to say sometimes.
Yeah.
That's part of what makes them human. So that's so fun.
Well, part of what's exciting me is also the. I recently learned about like cue analysis. What you were saying about the characters offstage.
Listening.
In describing the action of
Action in the dialogue.
I don't know if it's true. One of
Stage
my
directions in the dialogue. I'm going to plug another book, which is called Shakespeare's Playhouse Practice, which was also part of what we used when we worked in Ashland
Okay.
and with the company here when we were developing it, because it was stuff like asides and how many asides are there, and stage directions in the dialogue, and when does that happen? So that might be useful to you. Somebody broke down and analyzed what's in it before AI. Somebody did it.
someone
A human
went
being
through.
did it and made it.
Went through.
I don't remember the author, but
But the
I
thing,
used it a lot.
the thing that I learned was that I don't know if this is true. This just was told to me by a teacher who teaches stuff about Shakespeare. Was that a lot of Shakespeare's original plays, as they were performed, they were performing like hundreds of plays in a year.
Yes.
So you would learn it in like one day. You'd get your little thing, and a lot of times you hadn't even rehearsed it. So you would be getting information about what your stage directions
You
were
knew
going
what
to
your
be
prompt was
yeah.
to say what you had to say, and you knew where you were supposed to be, and that was all you knew.
And
And you had just lines of dialogue on a tiny scroll, is what I heard.
yeah, and sometimes you can even see in the play that he was messing with his actors. So like one of the examples that he gave, I don't remember. There's a scene. One of the players has a long speech, and they say the other actor's cue line 7 times throughout the speech. So the actor would start trying to talk, and then they would get cut off again and again and again.
Oh, that's so funny.
And there are other things like that where there are little traps for the actors laid into the plays because the things were basically being improvised on the day that
Because
they were.
playwrights are jerks.
No, he was a member of the company when he messed with his fellow actors.
Yeah.
Have either of you heard of a book by Jodi Picoult called By Any Other Name? By Any Other Name?
No.
So it's a fiction, it's a novel about the first published female English poet who was contemporary with Shakespeare, and the theory is that she wrote most of his work.
Wow.
There's another one called Sweet Swan of Avon,
Oh!
which also promotes the theory that there was a noble woman who
would
kept her
contribute?
identity secret, who had written the things. And I got
Yes,
that from
because
show.
so much
Yes.
of the so much of the language that women speak, it's like men don't know that. Anyway. Men have no idea about
the
that.
mystery continues. But they do say that his company had to improvise because of the volume of plays that were you have 1 day of rehearsal, maybe 2. That play's gone. You got another play in 2 weeks. How would they do it unless they were able to improvise?
Little Johnny's voice changes.
Yeah, right.
They throw Trevor out there.
Get young Trevor out there to be Lady Capulet.
Yay, my lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had to. And I think that there's that let the fools say no more than what is set down for them line too, of like, Will Kemp, shut up. Shut up, you made the play 20 minutes longer. Again. Right? Because you were improvising. Yeah. So all that stuff. I'm going to give you your phone back.
Okay. Thank you so
What
much.
is it you're teaching tonight?
Hitchcock's performing. Come watch.
I have another meeting. I have to at 8:00. Yeah.
Well, if you're done by 8:30, the second one will go up about 8:30.
Hitchcock.
It's an improvised Hitchcock? Well,
Long form.
okay.
So 2, 1 out.
Joshua Raoul Brody. As I live and breathe. He's our musician, and he was there
brilliant.
when we were creating long form as well. So his experience when we were creating long form over that decade that we brought it into being. Yeah, this was an interview.
This was an interview. Do you have any memory of the first time that Bats did a narrative show? No. Okay, I'll have to keep going down the rabbit hole. Oh. But it had music right from the beginning. Yeah.
I'm not even sure. See me now. Like you did that.
Oh, Rafe was doing a lot of stuff too. Yeah. Yep.
See me now.
Wow. Well,
Okay, you got to say goodbye to me.
yeah, thank you, Rebecca. This has been so much fun. It is unbelievably just like you are so knowledgeable, and thank you for starting this enormous wave and journey of long-form improvised Shakespeare.
And I want to say thank you, and thank you for taking this forward.
Yeah. Oh.
Can't you see me now? Like you always did. Can't you see me now? I just wanna be with you. When the times they seem so crazy, can't you see me now? Can't you see me now? See me now. Can't you see me now? Can't you see me now? Can't you see me now? Everything is changing. Can't you see me now? Can't you see me now?